A man stands in the middle of the Sinai desert, holding a raw piece of acacia wood. But if you look closer at the blistered hands of this desert metalworker, at the ancient Hebrew poetry of Proverbs, look at the church in Corinth. The rich are eating full meals while the poor starve at the exact same table. Church members are dragging each other into the public Roman courts over money. They are treating the gifts of the Spirit like a competitive blood sport. They have infinite Sophia. They possess all the right theological theories. Yet they are actively tearing their own house down to the foundation. Paul writes his letter to strip away the deadly illusion. He points them away from the polished marble amphitheaters. He points them directly to the rough, splintered timber of the cross, a place of torn flesh, a place of suffocating breath, a place of physical, agonizing reality. The crucifixion is the ultimate work of the master craftsman. God is using the raw, inviolate, chaotic material of human sin to forge a completely new creation. But the tragedy of the Corinthian church did not stay buried in the dust of the first century. We have inherited the exact same disease. We are a generation suffocating under the crushing weight of endless information, surrounded by an absolute abundance of intellectual resources. We hold perfectly bound leather study Bibles in our laps, and we stream the sharp, compressed audio of brilliant theologians directly into our ears while we sit in morning traffic. And later, at a letter written to a deeply confused church in Corinth, you realize that our modern definition of wisdom is completely backward. We have access to more theoretical Sophia than any human civilization before us. We can debate the nuances of ancient text. We can deconstruct complex cultural arguments. And we can perfectly articulate our sophisticated theological frameworks in glowing text on a blue screen. Yet, just like the elite citizens of that ancient Roman city, our actual lives are often fracturing right at the seams. We know exactly what the text says about grace, but we carry the heavy, hardened stone of resentment in our chests for decades. We can recite elegant verses about peace, but our hands shake with anxiety before we even check our morning emails. We have convinced ourselves that if we just read one more book or listen to one more lecture, we will finally become wise. We believe that understanding a concept is the exact same thing as possessing it. But the ancient Hebrew writers are standing in the dusty street, holding out a set of heavy, iron tools. You see, true CHOKHMAH is deeply threatening to our modern ego. It requires a kind of vulnerability that intellectualism perfectly shields us from. When you are merely debating ideas, you can always retreat to a stronger argument. But when you are building a marriage, raising a child, or leading a community, your theories are instantly tested against the abrasive friction of reality. Wisdom is not a thought you think. It is a thing you make. The question of the text isn't, how much do you know? The wood either holds the nail, or it splinters. The foundation either supports the weight, or it collapses in the storm. There is no theoretical shelter when the rain actually starts falling. Wisdom is not a library you build in your mind. It is a house you build in the dirt. We naturally gravitate toward the polished marble of Greek philosophy because it demands absolutely nothing of our physical bodies. It allows us to feel deeply spiritual, profoundly enlightened, and completely in control while remaining entirely unchanged in our daily habits. But CHOKHMAH requires you to ruin the wood. It requires you to fail, to apologize, to sit in the awkward, suffocating silence of a broken relationship, and slowly, painstakingly weave the torn edges back together. It is the applied skill of taking the chaotic, unshaped material of a Tuesday morning and forging it into something that actually looks like the character of God. If we want to see what that kind of brutal, applied craftsmanship actually looks like, we cannot look at a philosopher standing on a pristine stage. We have to look at what God actually did when he stepped into the chaotic. It is this. What is your life actually building? We are drowning in an ocean of information, violent material of human history, because the master craftsman did not stay out of the dirt. The hill is steep. The limestone is jagged under thick leather sandals. The air smells of sour wine, dried blood, and the heavy dust of a terrified crowd. A heavy iron hammer strikes. A spike tears through flesh. A wooden beam drops into a deep hole carved in the rock. The sound echoes against the stone walls of Jerusalem. This is Golgotha. Look at the man hanging on the center cross. Watch his lungs fight for a fraction of an inch of oxygen. Watch the sky turn violently black in the middle of the afternoon. Watch the Roman soldiers sit in the dirt and throw dice for a seamless garment. The Greek philosophers look at this exact scene and turn away in absolute disgust. They see a failed intellect. They see a defeated rabbi. They see a peasant who lacked the rhetorical skill to argue his way out of a Roman execution. But look closely at the hands pinned to the rough timber. These are the hands of a carpenter, a tekton, a builder. He is not delivering a final theoretical lecture. He is executing a structural blueprint. CHOKHMAH, the gritty, applied craftsmanship that laid the foundations of the earth, is now working in the dark. We have commentaries, lexicons, and unlimited access to the greatest theological minds in human history right in our pockets. The maker of the universe is taking the most chaotic, broken, toxic material in human history. He takes the betrayal of his closest friends. He takes the corrupt judgment of the high priests. He takes the cold, imperial violence of Rome. He takes the suffocating weight of our sin, and he uses it. He does not escape the physical world to save it. He plunges directly into its deepest agony. The cross is not a tragedy. It is a forge. Every agonizing breath is a hammer strike. Every drop of blood hitting the limestone is the heavy cost of materials. He is tearing down the ancient dividing wall of hostility. He is dismantling the architecture of death, piece by piece. He is laying the unshakable cornerstone for an entirely new creation. He is doing what CHOKHMAH always does. He is taking chaos and shaping it into order. He cries out. He bows his head. The thick curtain in the temple violently tears. From top to bottom, the work is finished. The foundation is set. The master craftsman has rebuilt the world with his own flesh. But admiring the massive foundation of a house is completely different from learning how to actually live inside it. But maybe the part that stays with me most is the tools. We spend so much of our religious lives trying to escape the messiness. Yet we are a species entirely paralyzed by tomorrow, watching our relationships fracture and our communities slowly pull apart. Of the physical world, we want a smooth marble floor where nothing ever breaks, where theological arguments are perfectly sound, and where our faith exists as a pristine, untouched philosophy in our minds. We want God to hand us a fully finished, brightly lit mansion, so we never have to stumble in the cold. But the master craftsman refuses to stay in the clean rooms. When you look at the men and women who actually carried this ancient CHOKHMAH, none of them had flawless intellectual resumes. They were not elite thinkers debating in the forum. They were terrified nomads, stuttering prophets, and fishermen who smelled like salt and old nets. They were constantly ruining the material. They shattered the stone tablets. They hid in dark, damp caves. They sat in the choking dust of their own disastrous decisions. We look at the sharp, jagged edges of our own lives, and we assume we have completely failed the test. We think our private anxiety, our fractured relationships, and the cold sweat we wake up with at 2 in the morning mean that we are somehow missing the profound Sophia of God. We think true wisdom is supposed to feel like perfect, unbroken peace. But wisdom is not the absence of chaos. We have the vocabulary of the divine, but our hands are completely empty. The biblical writers were not offering a new philosophy for us to memorize. It is the heavy, calloused work of sorting through it. Your spiritual life is not a Greek amphitheater, where heaven is judging you on your eloquence or your perfect understanding of complex doctrine. It is a Hebrew workshop, the broken pieces of your Tuesday afternoon, the agonizing, tear-stained conversations you are trying to navigate, the deep, physical exhaustion you carry in your jaw. These are not distractions from the work of God. They are the raw, unshaped materials. God is not asking us to mathematically solve the ancient problem of human suffering, He is asking us to step into the dark, freezing water, and help pull someone out. Sanctification is not a brilliant lecture we passively attend. It is a gritty, exhausting workshop we survive. And when you pull back to look at the entire scope of this sweat-stained story, you see exactly what this craftsmanship has been building all along. A desert artisan hammered raw bronze, and the first dwelling place of God took shape in the wilderness. A woman shouted in a crowded street, and the blueprint of the stars was handed to the simple. They were diagnosing this exact disease. They were naming the tragedy of a mind filled with brilliant light and a life that remains entirely in the dark. A tent maker pushed an iron needle through canvas, and the intellectual pride of an empire was quietly dismantled. A Roman executioner swung a heavy iron hammer, and the architecture of death was permanently fractured. A savior bled on a piece of rough timber, and the unshakable cornerstone of a new creation was laid in the dust. A chaotic church sat in the ruins of its own ego, and the master craftsman refused to abandon the site. A broken world spins wildly toward the dark, and the sweat-stained, applied skill of heaven holds every single piece together. 2 words. 1. Reality. Same God. But maybe the part that stays with me most is the needle. The image of a brilliant first-century rabbi walking right past the polished marble amphitheaters, ignoring the pristine stages of the philosophers, and sitting down in a dim, dusty room with thick animal hide and a curved iron tool. Not a God demanding flawless theological arguments. A God who willingly calluses his own hands to fix exactly what we have broken. If you are in a season where your spiritual life feels entirely chaotic, where you are exhausted from trying to hold, to feel the weight of this disconnect, you have to trace how the ancient writers actually understood the world. 2 the right theories together, while your actual reality splinters around you. Stop trying to perform. Step out of the Greek amphitheater. Your faith is not a philosophical exam you are failing. It is a heavy, physical craft you are learning. If this opens something up for you, subscribe. Leave a comment, even 1 word helps. Share this with someone who is carrying the heavy weight of a chaotic season. Pray for us as we keep digging into these ancient texts. And may the God who has never once been afraid of the dirt walk with you through your own chaotic workshop and use the heavy, abrasive friction of this exact moment to forge something beautiful that will actually last. You have to watch a single concept travel from the sweaty, chaotic construction site of the wilderness tabernacle. The midday sun burns the back of his neck, and the gritty wind coats his teeth with dust. Transform into a woman shouting in the crowded markets of Jerusalem, and finally collide head-on with the elite intellectuals of the Roman Empire. It starts in the book of Exodus. But the detail that changes everything is who God actually trusts to hold it. Exodus, chapter 31. God is speaking to Moses. He points to an artisan named Bezalel. He says he has filled this man with the Spirit of God. And the very first attribute he lists is the Hebrew word CHOKHMAH. We translate it in our English Bibles as wisdom. But the context here is not a quiet theological debate. The context is heavy metalwork. It is precise stone cutting. It is the intricate weaving of thick linen, the smell of burning pitch, the sharp ringing of a bronze hammer against a heavy anvil, the blue dust of crushed lapis lazuli floating in the hot desert air. CHOKHMAH is the word. It appears over 140 times in the ancient Hebrew texts, and its root meaning is startlingly, almost uncomfortably practical. It means applied skill. It means craftsmanship. It is the ability to take raw, chaotic, unshaped material and turn it into something beautiful, something functional, something that actually holds together in the real world. A sailor navigating a violent storm has CHOKHMAH. A midwife delivering a child in the dark has CHOKHMAH. A goldsmith shaping a sacred vessel has CHOKHMAH. He is not a priest offering incense at an altar. He is not a prophet holding a wooden staff over the water. This changes how we read the entire Old Testament. Wisdom is the art of living well. It is knowing exactly when to speak in a heated room. It is knowing exactly when to stay silent. It is understanding how the deep grain of the universe runs. and choosing to cut with the grain, instead of violently against it. You cannot learn this from a scroll. You only learn it by picking up the heavy tools. You only learn it by ruining the wood a few times. You only learn it through the abrasive friction of your own hands, against the hard, unforgiving realities of daily life. Later cultures will see wisdom as an escape from the physical world, a retreat into pure, sterile thought. The Hebrew writers see it as the total mastery of the physical world. CHOKHMAH is not an abstract theory about God. It is the sweat-stained execution of his design. When you understand that, the entire book of Proverbs suddenly shifts. The ancient wisdom literature is not a collection of pious religious bumper stickers. It is a master craftsman's workshop manual. It is a set of precise structural blueprints. It teaches you how to build a human life that does not collapse under the sudden, crushing weight of a chaotic world. It shows you how to forge a marriage that does not shatter, how to manage money without becoming its slave. He is a craftsman named Bezalel, wiping sweat from his eyes, staring at a pile of rough stones and unspun linen, how to use words to heal tissue instead of cutting it open. It is all action. It is all movement. It is all sweat. But the writer of Proverbs does something deeply unexpected with this rough, calloused word. He takes this concept of applied skill, he pulls it out of the quiet workshop, and he gives it a voice. He turns it into a living, breathing person. There is a detail hiding in plain sight in chapter 8. Picture the crowded, chaotic streets of ancient Jerusalem. The smell of roasted cumin and sweating pack animals hangs heavy in the narrow alleys. Merchants shout over the rhythmic clatter of wooden carts on cobblestone. Heavy copper coins hit bronze scales. It is loud. It is dusty. It is exhausting. And right in the middle of the intersection, a woman raises her voice. Proverbs chapter 8 drops CHOKHMAH directly into the noise. The writer personifies this applied, gritty skill as Lady Wisdom. But notice exactly where she is standing. She is not hiding behind the thick curtain of the Holy of Holies. She is not sitting on a distant, silent peak, demanding that you climb up to find her. She takes her stand at the busy crossroads. Beside the city gates, he has just been tasked with building the very first dwelling place for the Spirit of God on earth. She is shouting into the spaces where deals are made, where thieves wait, where the heavy, messy business of human survival actually happens. She cries out to the naive, to the simple, to the people who are actively tearing their own lives apart through terrible decisions, and then she reveals her resume. Before the heavy mountains were locked into place, before the springs of the deep violently erupted, before the first grain of dust settled on the earth, she was there. She was beside the Creator. She was the master craftsman. God did not forge the universe by random, chaotic force. He used CHOKHMAH. He used applied skill to carve out the deep, trenchant basins for the oceans. He used craftsmanship to weave the thin canopy of the sky. He used her to set the foundational pillars of the earth so they would not fracture and collapse. She was the blueprint for the stars. She was the rhythm of the tide. She was the deep, unseen logic that keeps the physical cosmos from unraveling into total darkness. She is not a quiet religious philosophy. She is the architecture of reality. To listen to her is to align yourself with the gravity of God. To ignore her is to step off the edge of a cliff and expect the rocks below to catch you. And the text tells us exactly what qualifies him for the job. Most people assume that when the Bible talks about wisdom, to hate her, as the ancient text explicitly says, is to love death. For centuries, this is how the Hebrew people understood the world. A beautiful, practical, sweat-stained craftsmanship holding the heavens and the earth together. But empires always change hands. A few hundred years pass, and the world is conquered by legions, marble temples, and a completely different language. And when this gritty Hebrew woman steps into the polished amphitheaters of the Greek mind, she is given a new name, and something devastating gets lost in the translation. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. Paul is writing a letter to a church planted in one of the wealthiest, most fiercely competitive cities in the ancient world. The Corinthians do not want calluses on their hands. They want status. They are obsessed with polished rhetoric, the sharp echo of brilliant debates in smooth white marble amphitheaters, and endless intellectual speculation. And the word Paul uses to describe exactly what they are chasing is the Greek Sophia. Sophia is the root of our modern word philosophy, literally. The love of wisdom. But unlike the heavy, practical Hebrew CHOKHMAH, which smelled like burning pitch and crushed lapis lazuli, the Greek Sophia had slowly evolved into something entirely cerebral. By the 1st century, it was the ultimate marker of the cultural elite. It was about your eloquence. It was the ability to hold an audience captive with complex, theoretical arguments. It means something you possess in your head. We picture a Greek philosopher in a quiet marble hall, debating the meaning of the universe. It was profound knowledge entirely disconnected from dirty hands. If peeling back the layers of these ancient languages to see what the writers actually meant is stirring something inside you, you're exactly who this channel is for. Drop a thought in the comments and hit subscribe. Because every week, we go deeper into the text than you knew was possible. So Paul looks at this Corinthian obsession with elite intellect. He watches a church actively tearing itself apart because everyone wants to sound the smartest. Everyone wants to follow the most eloquent speaker. Everyone wants the highest social standing. And he takes their prized word and completely shatters it. In 1 Corinthians 1:24, he introduces a paradox that would have sounded like absolute insanity to an educated Greek mind. He declares that Christ himself, specifically Christ crucified, is the power of God and the Sophia of God. God's wisdom is not a brilliant philosophical argument. It is a bleeding man nailed to a piece of rough Roman timber. To the Greeks, who demanded beautiful logic and soaring rhetoric, a crucified savior was the ultimate foolishness. It was intellectually repulsive. A God who dies in naked, public humiliation on a splintered wooden cross does not fit into any respectable philosophical system. It breaks the system. It subverts the very definition of what the empire considered wise. But Paul is doing something deeply intentional here. We imagine a gray-haired elder sitting quietly, dispensing abstract advice about how to avoid bad company or manage your anger. He is taking the Greek word Sophia and dragging it violently back to its Hebrew roots. He is pulling wisdom out of the quiet, sterile library, and putting it back onto a messy, chaotic construction site. He is saying that the ultimate expression of God's mind is an act of physical, sacrificial craftsmanship that holds the fractured world together. But the clash between these two definitions of wisdom does not stop with a single theological statement. To feel the sheer scandal of what Paul is doing, you have to look at the ground he is standing on. Corinth sits on a narrow neck of rock. Two oceans crash on either side. It is the economic hinge of the Roman Empire. Ships arrive from the east. Heavy cargo unloads from the west. Wealth floods the stone streets. Bronze statues of pagan gods gleam in the blinding Mediterranean sun. Temple prostitutes walk the upper roads, leading to the Acropolis. Philosophers stand on raised marble platforms in the crowded marketplace. They debate. They argue. They posture. They charge heavy silver to speak. They gather massive crowds. They sell intellectual entertainment to the highest bidder. This is the epicenter of Sophia. The city breathes polished rhetoric. And then a Jewish man named Paul walks through the city gates. He does not climb the marble platform. He does not wear the pristine linen of a traveling Greek orator. He does not announce a new school of abstract thought. He walks into the commercial district. We think of wisdom as intellectual weight, a library of correct answers, a state of mind. He sits down in a dusty, dimly lit workshop. He unrolls thick, stiff animal hides. He picks up a curved iron needle. He pushes it through the heavy, unyielding leather. He makes tents. He sweats. He bleeds. He works with his hands. He is a Pharisee. He is a rabbi trained by the absolute intellectual elite of Jerusalem. He has the pedigree to stand on the philosopher's stage. Yet, his hands are heavily calloused. His clothes smell like cured animal skin, sweat, and street dust. He preaches while he sews. He teaches while he cuts the heavy canvas. He embodies the gritty, ancient Hebrew CHOKHMAH, right in the middle of the Greek obsession with theoretical Sophia. The Corinthians watch him, and they are deeply embarrassed. In their minds, elite thinkers do not work with their hands. Manual labor is strictly for slaves. Pure wisdom is supposed to elevate a man far above the dirt, not bury his fingers in it. They want a king in robes. They get a tent maker with a needle. But Paul understands something the Greek Empire has completely forgotten. He is not delivering a lecture. He is executing a rescue operation. He knows that flawless. High-minded rhetoric cannot fix a shattered marriage. A clever theoretical argument cannot snap the heavy iron chains of addiction. A smooth philosophical system cannot pull a dead body out of a stone grave.